Hey up everyone, I'm back again. So as you can see, I've got two nice Samsung handsets in front of me, which basically are pretty much the best that Samsung have to offer right now. That's until the Note 4 comes out, which is due the end of the year. But to the person who's looking to spend quite a lot of money on a new handset, which one provides the better value for money and performance? I think they both have their strengths and weaknesses, and it's up to the buyer to decide what they're looking for in a smartphone, I think, before they make a choice to splash out a lot of cash. But I'm not going to talk too much about the form factors of each device because they're pretty much similar in many respects. The only differences being that the S5 is water resistant, whereas the Note 3 isn't. And also you've got the differences in terms of the back covers, whereas the Note 3 has a kind of leathery kind of look to it. The S5 has its pattern kind of look, which is obviously different from most of Samsung's other devices. But I think they've been listening to feedback from fans to sort that particular issue out on their handsets. But apart from the fact that you've got a stylus on the Note 3 as well, they're pretty much similar. They both have removable batteries. The battery on the S5 is 2800 mAh, whereas the Note 3 has a 3000, well, I think it's 3200. Yeah, 3200 mAh battery. Even though it does have the bigger battery, it obviously has a bigger screen to power, so that would offset that slight advantage. But other than that, they are very similar in terms of kind of like their form factor. The Note 3 is a bit bigger, obviously, and will take a slightly deeper pocket, but a lot of people may not be too fussed with that, especially if you're coming from a Note 3. A Note 2. It's very manageable if you're coming from that device. But the S5 is quite a big device in itself as well. If you're coming from something like the Note 1, then you'll notice that it is nearly the same size as that, and certainly not small by any means, but it is a bit more pocketable than the Note 3, and thus is probably better suited to someone who has smaller hands. I have quite big fingers, so it's not really that much of an issue for me. But yeah, something to bear in mind really. In regards to the actual software they're both running TouchWiz, which is Samsung's proprietary skin. However, they are running slightly different versions of TouchWiz, in that the S5 has a newer version, which comes with more attractive notification area, as well as this magazine type of thing, which comes out when you scroll to the left on the home screen, which is quite nice. You also get different settings icons, which is quite nice as well. The whole UI just feels refreshed. Even like for example, if you lock the screen and then unlock it, it feels a lot fresher than the old one, which is more traditional. And these UI changes do filter through the device in pretty much every aspect. As you can see, you can also say the keyword for Google, and that should open up from the home screen. If I try it now, OK Google. That's quite a nice touch. Not sure if the Note 3 can do that as well. You can give it a try. I know that it's usually buried away in the settings somewhere. You have to turn it on. I can't find it now. Well, in fact, it's probably under here somewhere. Searching now. Voice. So that is on, but it doesn't seem to let me do it from home screen, which is a bit of a bummer, but probably they'll roll that out in future. I have noticed that some features from the S5 have started to roll out onto the Note 3, which is nice by Samsung. As you can see, download boosters rolled out, which I've been trying quite extensively, and it works just the same as on the S5. You get some really nice boosts to download speed, and the fact that I've got 4G come indoors now, I can take advantage of that. And also, I think they've updated the kids mode on the device as well, but I've never really bothered to go into that. So it's not really something that would interest me, but if you've got kids, then maybe it would. So in terms of software, I think they still need to get rid of this kind of old TouchWiz interface on the Note 3 and make it much more like the S5. Then I think it will be truly up to date with Samsung's premium devices. But they both are very nice in terms of software. I do like what Samsung gives you in terms of the download booster, and the health apps and things like that. In regards to the processing power, it's a strange issue in that Samsung chose to not put 3 gigs of RAM in the Galaxy S5. However, it doesn't really affect it in terms of day-to-day performance. It would have been nice for the purpose of future-proofing the device a bit. And I think if you're doing some quite intensive stuff, which involves a lot of multitasking, then you might actually notice the performance of having 3 gigs of RAM. Obviously, you'd have to be absolutely hammering it and having different apps open and close really quick, because KitKat does a very good job of managing the memory compared to older versions of Android. But where the S5 does make up for it is in the processing power. It has a Snapdragon 801 processor, which is the newest processor from Qualcomm, and that's clocked at 2.5 gigahertz, whereas the Note 3 only has quite an older Snapdragon 800 processor, and that's clocked at 2.3 gigahertz. So still very capable and competent for most things, but I think in terms of raw performance, the S5 you will notice like it being a bit more responsive, coupled with the TouchWiz as well, which is more up to date. But shame about that RAM issue. In regards to the speaker quality from both devices, I'd say that the speaker quality from them is decent. I was expecting a bit more in regards to this speaker though, which is on the bottom of the Note 3, compared to the speaker on the S5, which is at the back. But right now I'd say that the S5 has the higher speaker. It just sounds more bassy and more you can hear the detail on the songs better. I do remember having the Note 2 and thinking that it would have been nice if they made a slightly louder speaker on that one as well. So somewhere to improve upon, I think, in future for the Note series. Where the Note does differentiate itself a bit is the stylus, obviously, which I've showed you before in another video. It takes some getting used to, but for people who don't like to touch their devices and put fingerprints all over them, as well as people who want to do quick notes and all sorts of nice stuff like painting, etc., then you can't beat the Note 3 for this type of option. It feels improved upon as well from the Note 2, which I felt was good, but still had some issues in terms of sensitivity. But it's really nice to be able to just, if you've got something on your phone that you want to show someone, you can just quickly grab it like that and then share it out however you want, which is it's really a nice touch by Samsung. And obviously it's quite intelligent in that it tells you that if you've left the pen behind, so that you don't walk too far away from it. After all, you don't want to be buying new pens all the time. So I think this technology behind the S Pen in the Note 3 is very sophisticated and can register a lot of different types of sensitivity. So it certainly makes a device worthwhile for people who like to use pens. But as you can see, you don't get any of that on the Galaxy S5, even though the screen is at the highest sensitivity. So a nice touch by Samsung for its phablet devices. In regards to the camera quality, the camera on the Note 3 is similar to the S4, and thus it does a very good job of pretty much everything, whether it's video recording or just taking pictures in 13 megapixel resolution. It does come with a whole load of different modes as well, which I've shown you in other videos, such as the good old-fashioned beauty face. It does also do 4K recording, which is a nice touch. But other than that, it's quite standard. It doesn't distinguish itself compared to some of the other Android handsets, whereas the S5 does take it up a notch with its 16 megapixel ISO cell camera, and this camera can shoot in 4K as well. In general, I found the focusing and the picture taking to be lightning fast on the S5, much faster than the Note 3, and also taking pictures is very quick and easy. I do like the low light performance as well, which has greatly improved upon compared to the Galaxy S4 and Note 3. It does come with a whole load of options as well, some of them which are not on the Note 3. But I think most people will just be happy leaving it on auto, and it'll take perfectly good shots. But I think the S5, because it's a newer device, was bound to have a slightly better camera. But I wouldn't completely rule out the Note 3's camera, which in itself is very capable of taking some nice pictures. So yeah, I think in terms of speaker quality through the headphones, they're both about comparable. Not noticed a major difference on the S5 compared to the Note 3. They both have very nice equalizer options, which allow you to slow down tracks and speed them up if you wish. But still not up there, I think, with Sony's line of Walkman branded handsets. We can also have a look at the GPS performance, see how both of them compare. It'd help if I had GPS on the Note. Let's try that again. Make sure it's on high accuracy. Wow, I think it's quite clear to see who's pulling ahead there, even though the Note 3 had a head start there. Well, then again, it could have been the S5 that had a head start because it was already on location mode. But you can still see that it is taking quite a while for the Note 3 to pick up a decent amount of satellites to make a stronger signal. But it's getting there now, slowly. There we go. So I'd give it to the S5 for being probably a little bit better in terms of its GPS technology, but the Note 3 will still work well as well. In terms of, there was something else I wanted to test, and it escapes me now. Yes, speed test. Both connected to my Wi-Fi. See which one pulls down the most bandwidth. And it looks like the S5's hogging all the data. I like to do this test because if you're connected to a public Wi-Fi, it gives you some indication of how much bandwidth your device will steal off other people. So it looks like the S5 is better both in terms of ping, download and upload as well. Let's try one more time. one's much more closer, I think, for download. And it seems the Note 3's done a bit better in regards to the upload. So a bit inconclusive there, but you can make your own mind up. I think they're both going to perform decently. I've had a strong signal wherever I am in the house. So they both obviously come with NFC as well, and the other suite of things that Samsung have, such as S-Beam and S-Voice, etc. There's not really that much difference in how they kind of operate. Even the newer version of S-Voice I find to be a bit finicky at times compared to Google Now. I think probably the biggest differentiator between them probably is the screen, and that's why I've kind of like saved that to the last. The screen is they're both Super AMOLED, but I think the screen on the S5 is brighter and more accurate in terms of its color reproduction, and slightly better in terms of viewing angles. However, I'd say only slightly. I have got the Note 3 screen on the maximum at the moment, as you can see, but I don't have it as on maximum on the S5 because it would cause a lot of glare because it's so bright. But if I do put it on the maximum, you can see how bright the screen goes compared to the Note 3. However, you do have obviously a bigger viewing area on the Note 3. So if you do watch a lot of videos and that, you're going to benefit from that compared to the S5, as well as doing productivity stuff. I know quite a few people who connect a keyboard up to their smartphone. To me, it's a bit crazy, but obviously with the Note 3, it'd be a bit better than doing it on the S5. Yeah, they're both very nice screens, but I'd give it to the S5 just because it's probably newer and has more up-to-date technology. So yeah, I think that about covers it. It was just a quick comparison between them. You know, there's not much really separating them in terms of battery and general performance, but the things that do separate them you should bear them in mind if you're looking to buy one. I think if you're looking for something which is really good for media consumption as well as productivity, then the Note 3 may be better suited to your needs. Whereas someone who's looking for a better camera and basically better software at the moment, and probably more future-proof in terms of specs, apart from the RAM, then the S5 will probably be a better choice. And there's that screen as well, which is absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, you know, they're both excellent devices and you can't go wrong with either of them. So that's just been a comparison review between these two devices. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it, and I'll be back next time. Cheers.